As a young basketball player, there was a guy that was deeply committed to me. He was deeply committed to my growth and development as an athlete and deeply committed to friendship. Joel and I played together for 4 or 5 years through middle and high school. I always looked up to Joel. He was a little bit older, a little bit taller, and a little bit better than me. It was easy for me to be drawn to him because he had things that I wanted. But what astonished me was that he was interested and willing to invest in me. One of my favorite moments came in the locker room my junior year. We had just lost a tough game in the sectional finals of the state playoffs. After each game that season, we had circled up, put our hands in. Joel, our captain at the time, would say something inspiring and call out 1, 2, 3, which together we would say, team. That night, in Joel's last moment to inspire our team, he looked to me and he said, "Stephen, take us home." I remember feeling the weight of what he handed to me that night. And so I said something that I'd heard him say before, and I fumbled my way through the whole thing. But as I look back on that moment nearly 20 years later, it was one of the best lessons on development I've ever had in my life. When we talk about mentoring, it can sometimes be a word that we're afraid of because of bad examples or no examples at all in or through the local church. What it all boils down to is that mentoring is an intentional relationship designed to help one person move along toward a place or achievement that the other person has already reached, or at the very least is closer to reaching. Though mentoring has been claimed by the world as a means of personal and business development, I contend that it's a biblical practice that can sometimes come under the umbrella of discipleship, but that always has the potential to help one believer grow further into the image of Christ. When we consider 2 Timothy 2:2, where Paul tells Timothy of his expectation for him to find younger men that he can teach and show what Timothy himself learned from Paul, we see that mentoring is a biblical mandate. It's something that we are called to be doing as believers, finding those that are walking similar journeys and helping them grow into the most godly version of someone who is moving in that direction. We ought to take full advantage of these opportunities to help grow people navigating a similar path in life. As biblically mandated as this practice is, it can sometimes get lost that this is not just a spiritual formation endeavor, but also ought to be practically helpful for people. Well, what I mean by this is that mentoring ought to be developmental with skills, not only spiritual growth. Now, for those preparing or early in a career in education, they ought to be developing a relationship with a mentor who has taught for years. And for those pursuing the early stages of parenthood, they ought to have experienced parents helping them become better prepared and equipped for their parenting journey. Mentoring ought to be effective in spiritual growth, but also practically helpful in vocational and life development as well. Because mentoring has not been as frequently practiced in the church as it could have been, this may be something that you have to help coach your young adults and their mentors in as you get started. Here are some helpful things to keep in mind as you do that. First, train your mentors to invest in someone in the present with their future in mind. And just as my friend and mentor Joel had taken an interest in me years before that handoff moment, he sought to help me become better and invested in me to help me become someone that he could one day hand things off to. In our mentoring, we must put in the exhausting work of investing in the next generation of ministry leaders. If our view of ministry is limited to us and what we can and will do in our lifetime, or even this particular season, we are far too self-absorbed and short-sighted. Therefore, take the long view and see what could be, not just today's needs. Second, train your mentors to lead by example. Again, with my friend Joel, he gave up things that he wanted at times to spend more time with me in the gym, in the car, or just hanging out. And in all those spaces, Joel didn't just tell me things to do or give me helpful tips on how to improve my jump shot. He showed me what he wanted me to become. As a mentor, there must be a commitment to show those you are leading the path that you want them to walk. Do you set an example of what you want them to become? Or do they just see someone calling out commands for other people to follow, Mentors must lead by example. And finally, train your mentors to hand things off to those that they are investing in, rather than hogging all the glory for themselves. Joel was a great basketball player. He got a lot of recognition for his talent and his potential. But Joel raised high the arms of others. He shared the trophy. A win for him was more than personal acclaim, it was the future success of others. In mentoring, we must not seek to self-promote, wave our own flag, and hog all the glory. Instead, effective mentors will be setting others up to lead ministry better than you ever have or could. It's about the kingdom, after all, which will far outlast any individual. Today, my friend Joel is an assistant coach for one of the greatest programs in college basketball. No coincidence, his job is recruitment and development of young talent. And me, I'm developing disciples of next generation church leaders. It's no stretch to say that he's been developing young guys for years. And part of the reason that I do what I do is because of what he did for me. We must see the opportunity in mentoring. We must see the potential in people. And we must commit to help raise up young adults who are capable of more than just repeating Bible facts, but that have been developed to be faithful and influential followers of Jesus in whatever domain God has placed them. Mentoring is crucial in our efforts to accomplish this.